Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've got another weekly recap for you all as we are plugging along in the off season, kind of getting into that home stretch of where things are going to start ramping up before we pivot into nationals prep. And weights are starting to get heavier and they're starting to move really well. So just checking out this day one pause squats with 575 pounds. I'm pretty sure this is a safety squat bar PR and it's paused. So that's super encouraging. And the RPE was around, a 7 to 8. So there's definitely room to up that weight moving forward as well. I didn't get footage of my snatch grip RDLs. Those were fairly easy. I would call them an RPE 7. So not a huge deal that I didn't get the footage there, but still kind of just rolling along. On this day 2, I did have to settle with a different bench, which kind of changed the groove in my setup. This bench sits a little higher, so I did back the weight off a little bit, back to 335 pounds, but overall it moved really well. I am also trying out the new SBD stiff wrist wraps. I've always used the flexible wraps, and I wanted to get several sessions in with the stiff wraps before I come out with a review video on them. And just to give a bit of a preview, I really like them for this Swiss bar work that I've been doing on bench. And you'll notice I'll kind of talk about it whenever I show my regular bench work. I gave them a shot on regular barbell bench. The verdict's still out, but they may not be for me just simply because of a technique reason. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep using them for my Swiss bar work. So keep an eye out for a separate video where I talk about those stiff wraps, what SBD has changed about them, and why I'm strongly considering implementing them into my training. All right, so here we are for day 3 with my tempo deadlifts, right? So it's a 3-second down tempo for sets of 5. These were quite easy. I like them because they just really get that tension throughout the movement. And I walk away from the day feeling basically warmed up with a tad bit of soreness as well. And you can feel every bit of, technique and where you need to be throughout the movement for those. And then I closed out with my rows that I've been doing. I decided to use straps with these this week because I felt like grip has been my limiting factor in the past. So we'll continue to march these up. I feel like these are going to help build my deadlift. Plus I've been enjoying them, and that's a big part of it all, is just being able to enjoy your training. All right, so here we are for day 4. I had 3 heavy squat singles and then a heavy bench and a heavy deadlift. This is one of my warm-ups, 655 pounds, moving about as fast as it ever has moved in the past. And then 700 pounds was my last warm-up. So you'll see this also moves extremely fast. Something that I do need to note, my body weight has been creeping up. I'm in that 126 to maybe 127 kilogram range, which is heavier. I was hoping to stay around that 125, but with the holidays creeping up, I just need to keep an eye on that. I'm okay with it being 126. Before North Americans, it hit 130 at one point, so we're still far from that. So just important to note. And then 735 pounds was my top number for my singles. This is the first single, and I'm certainly happy with how this moved. I would call it, around an opener as far as, speed goes, and I'm certainly happy with that. There's plenty of room to move forward. I can smell that 800-pound squat right around the corner. And then this is my third set, so third and final set with the same weight, 735 pounds, and it does move well. Whenever I watch this set, for whatever reason, I think it's, like I said, gaining a little weight, leverage is changing a little bit. Watching it back, it looks like I cut it. I don't think it's egregiously cut if it is a little bit high, but something just to take note of. But for the first rep that I had, I don't think that was cut at all. So, just take note of that. I don't think it's too bad here, but all in all, it still moved very fast in that RPE 8 range at least. So I'm excited to see what we can push up here, especially given a couple extra calories for the holiday. I think we may be able to push beyond a PR here in training, which would be really exciting. All right, moving on to bench. So for my top singles at least, was using the new stiff SBD wraps. I was feeling really good warming up. That was 425, my last warm up. But one thing I noticed is part of my form is to cock my wrists back to keep the bar ahead of me so it doesn't drift towards my feet. And with these stiff wraps, they lock my wrists in so much. I had an issue. You'll see on this rep, watch, I had to kind of reel it back towards my face because my wrists were kept straight. I had that tendency to go towards my feet. So that's kind of the one downside, and I need to play with how I wrap these wraps, see if I can possibly change that. And you'll see it on this set too. It moves really well, but because these wrist wraps are cranked so hard, whenever I get fatigued, I have a tendency to drift towards my feet a little bit right there, and I have to really pull it back to get it back towards my face. So after this set, I switched to the flexible wraps just to kind of feel a difference, and I slightly lowered the weight because that last set was fairly difficult, and I wanted to see how this would move. And watching this moves really well, and I felt like my groove was spot on with the flexible wrist wraps. So I might keep those. The verdict's still out moving forward, but like I had mentioned, I'm certainly going to use the stiff wraps for the Swiss bench press. So keep an eye out for a separate video, kind of looking at those, going through the pros and cons. And then I wrapped up my heavy day of the week with competition deadlift. This was 645 pounds, 4 sets of 5. I have 4 sets here. Happy with how this moved. Deadlift has kind of been a slow mover lately, but right there has been solid. Wrapping up an 800 plus pound training total. And overall, I'm feeling great. Motivation's back up and excited to get into the holiday. So you all enjoy your Thanksgiving, and until next time, happy lifting.